Hey everybody, it's me, Melly, again with magicwithmelly.com. This is another intuitive logo concept sketch debriefing. So if you're not familiar with my intuitive logo design process, by the way, I've been a professional graphic designer for about 20 years now, so this is not something that I've just haphazardly come up with. This is something that I enjoy doing so much that I have created my own process to bring through more of your own unique essence of yourself, of your business, bringing in your potential, your soul potential into a mark that will have that sort of impact and shine that potential and energy out to the world. So this intuitive logo concept sketch, which is step one of my two-step logo design process, is for the Mental Wellness Center. And this particular set of sketches is a little different from most of the intuitive logo design sketches that I have done because there were multiple concepts that came through. And I do have a couple of cohesive sketches at the end. However, my client this time will have a couple of different directions from which to choose and or combine as and if we move forward into step two. So just to show you the process, so this was my first page of sketches. You can see I sort of started brain dumping. The main image that came into my mind was the brain. Mental wellness, obviously that makes sense. Some of the other words that came up that just came to me were connect, brain, neurons firing each other up, that motivation. My client works a lot with the concept of shame, and so by lighting each other up or firing up, as neurons and synapses and stuff do, that brings another level of symbolism into the mix. Lightning speed, connecting the dots, excitement. So anyway, I just started sketching, right? I've got a couple little brain sketches. This one ended up looking a little too much like sushi. That wasn't my intention, but I was beginning to play with geometric shapes. You can see I was playing around with a heartbeat in the middle of the brain. And then I moved on to other ones. I mean, some of these are silly, but the idea of this was just, the image that came into my mind was that pop art with the halftones, the pow, bam, bright colors, almost like a superhero kind of thing. Because what my client does is act as sort of a superhero or a champion for her clients and teaches them to be champions of themselves. So the superhero energy was coming through, that impact was coming through. And so that's how that's how I got that down onto paper. You'll see, I'm just flipping through because I have many sketches and I want to get these in order. Let's see, is this the back? Okay. So you'll see, then I started playing around with the neuron and the idea of the neuron being almost like a snowflake, your uniqueness, the snowflake symbolism, the idea of the central sun, your central core, your central uniqueness shining out, that empowerment, which gets you through the shame, etc. And then I just added kind of a circle around it, that sense of wholeness or encompassing. And it is almost like a mandala of sorts as well. So there's plenty of symbolism, and this is kind of one initial concept. The next concept, I obviously started playing with a heart in the center of the neuron, but that just didn't feel right. It wasn't capturing the energy that I was feeling. And so then this symbolism started to come through. So this idea, it's almost like a tunnel, going down the rabbit hole, going through the tunnel and coming out the other side. You can see what's on the other side. I didn't use my watercolors for this, but I actually have a watercolor brush right here. But this here, the idea is for that kind of to be either the brain, or that would be, blue with clouds, but ideally to symbolize the brain. So we're going through the tunnel towards that, if it's blue, then towards that clear sky. So if I were to take my watercolor here and just make that more blue, and then perhaps, there's white clouds. Now it looks purple. Anyway. This is on the fly. So going through the tunnel, the idea of, this road making a triangle. A triangle is a very powerful shape, also encompasses positive, negative, and neutral. And so the idea of the road, the triangle, that stability, that shape of stability, leading you into, you know, the balance in the brain, the mental wellness, which again probably would be more effective as a blue sky, and then the swirls of the brain as white to symbolize kind of clouds. So you've got the double imagery of the sky, clear, well, with clouds it's not a clear sky, but the idea of that brightness, you know, through the tunnel out the other side. So then I continued to play. You can see I was just playing around with different shapes. The idea of having kind of the neuron almost as a sunshine coming out from behind the tunnel symbolism came through. So I was playing around with that some more. Began playing around with the more shapes for the brain. And then we kind of, you can see I've got even more sketches. So then we kind of came down to this, so it's that similar tunnel imagery, the triangle of the road, you know, the pathway to, again, down the rabbit hole, that tunnel, and then the neuron kind of behind, which is also bringing through that idea of the snowflake again, the uniqueness, and that really delicate shining. So it's not about pow, like bust through, it's about that delicate balance of embracing who you are and your own experience, etc., and just shining that out without the aggressive, without the pushing, etc. So that idea kind of came through. Then we progressed, and I told you there were several concepts that emerged for this client, and I do want to present them all, because when so many concepts come through, it's not for me to impose the final concept on my client. What I'm doing is capturing visually the energy, and sometimes I do get pictures that come through. Capturing that on paper, bringing through the symbolism, and then allowing my client to receive and connect with whichever bits of information most resonate with her. So again, this is a co-creation. This isn't about me imposing. This is about me translating, and then the conversation begins. So here's another concept that came through. And the idea of this was kind of like the brain, almost as a hill as well, and then the neuron as sunshine. So we've got this central axis. We've got that shining down, shining on. What did I write down? Lights up the, you know, the neuron, that synapse, that mental wellness, lighting up the brain, shining down on the brain. This brain, you know, the idea was also this could potentially be a hill, like a green hill. So this is a landscape. Also, this shape, if you can kind of see it, looks kind of like a person curled up in the fetal position. So we've got like the head over here and the back and kind of the legs, the knees into the chest. So this is almost like a person in the fetal position. So we've got this brain, then we've got the mental wellness, the sun shining down and really along that central axis, you know, being really bright and powerful. And the idea also of this going outside the box. So what my client does is not completely formulaic and rote. It is customized to each of her clients, and then each of the people she brings into her center will also have, you know, a unique approach. So there's that whole idea as well. What else did I put down here? Oh, the idea that if it were, you know, kind of like a hill, like a green hill, it could be the idea of, you know, greener pastures, like mental wellness being the greener pasture. And then again, the symbolism of the neuron lighting up and activating what you uniquely need to get to that end solution. And then obviously these are more sketches. The final concept that came through was with the brain, and the idea of this was to have that, the hemispheres of the brain, you know, united by a heart, the neurons in the center. That's actually not the final one. This was the final one. So the idea of the heart in the center as the center axis. You know, the heart and the brain are very connected. The brain actually grows out of the heart when we're developing. And then the neuron slash snowflake slash shining in the background. So this was the final concept. So we kind of have three. We've kind of got this idea of the brain and the neuron and the heart. We've kind of got this idea of the brain / person in the fetal position, you know, shining out of the box, etc. And then we kind of have this tunnel, the idea of, you know, going through the tunnel, coming out the other side, being able to see this beauty on the other side, and really being supported by the structure of your own unique essence. So hopefully that gives you some more insight into this process, and it is a very flexible, very fluid process. As a professional designer, I have come from more structured environments where there were very specific processes, very specific checklists, and everything had to be done in order. And that was the process that was presented to clients as well. My personal process, this more intuitive, fluid process, allows more of a conversation and really allows us to set the container for the energy and the soul energy to come in, because the most impact that you can have comes from being able to embody the full essence of who you are and what your business is here to do. And so by me assisting you in bringing that energy into this mark, this visual mark that is beyond words, your potential clients are more likely to feel the impact and resonate and notice where they are connected into what you're offering. So again, this is Melly Test with magicwithmelly.com, and this was an intuitive logo design sketch, which is step 1 of my 2-step logo design process. Thanks for watching.